I'm Kyleen Depew. I'm the Director of Animal Care at the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so this is it, the last interview episode of 2025. For those of you who aren't fully caught up, I will be doing this episode. I will be doing Zoo News on Friday. Then a week from today, it will be the holiday special. And then I will be on break until the new year, though there will still be things in your feed. So don't you worry, you'll be getting your fix. I'll just be getting a little break for the first time in 5.5 years. But before we get to all of that, I want to share with you one more interview episode this year. And it's someone who has become a very important person to me at a place that has become a very important place to me, and one that you have heard from many times. But today I am bringing you my interview with Kyleen Depew, or Miss Depew if you're a student, who is at the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo. And Kyleen is not just at the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo, but also works with me on Safe Red Panda. So obviously we have lots of things to talk about. And in this interview, we talk about all kinds of different things. We talk about animals, of course. We talk about conservation. We also talk a lot about her role at the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo and at Millbrook School, and the fact that she is, dealing with high school kids and their lives, and not just the zoo animals and the people at the zoo. So it's a really interesting interview. I think there's a lot of insightful conversation here. I think Kyleen does a really great job of sharing who she is and how her path in life really diverged from what she expected quite a bit once she found Millbrook and fell in love with it. So I love that so much. And before we get to that, though, I do need to take a moment to remind y'all, make sure that you grab your limited edition Rossifari merch available. You can check it out on Instagram, in my stories, all the places. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Don't forget to follow along on the socials at Rossifari Pod on the TikTok machine. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so by buying merch or by going to patreon.com/Rossifari, where you can become a patron for as little as $3 a month. So with all of those reminders out of the way, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Kyleen Depew, or Miss Depew, of the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo.
I also serve on the committee for Safe Red Panda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the vice coordinator for the Jeffries Marmoset SSP. And I am working a little bit with the small carnivore tag to help with their animal care manual rewrites.
Nice. That's very cool. I only knew about the Safe Red Panda part because that's all I care about. But yeah, so I'm excited to have you here because I love featuring the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo with its new name. And I love featuring the students, which you are not one of.
No.
But I want to get your take on some of the things, including what it's like working with so many students. But before we get to that, I have to tell you, it is the weirdest thing hanging out with you and other students and stuff here. And everyone's like, Mr. Depew, Mr. Depew, Mr. Depew. And I'm like, who are they? Oh, right. Kyleen, you have a last name. Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's just so weird. And I'm genuinely curious. I'm saying that because it's funny, but also, is it weird to work? You're literally working with students that are literally working at the zoo doing zookeeping tasks, but also being that Mr. Depew, you know what I mean? Is there a weird almost dichotomy there?
I think I don't find it weird anymore because of 15 years of doing it.
Fair.
And it, especially when you live on campus at a boarding school too, it sets up those clear boundaries of professional versus the student, because they are high schoolers, right? So I don't find it weird anymore. And then we also have some students that work with us in the summer, and they will find it weird when they get to finally, or if they work with us after they graduate, they will find it weird that they get to use our first names then.
That's real. Yeah. I was such a nerd in high school, obviously. And I was on the part of the speech and debate team. Yeah. And Mrs. Metcalf was one of not only was she my coach, but she was one of my favorite humans and biggest influences in my life. And then right after I graduated, I started coaching it with her and judging and stuff. And I don't think I called her Christine for a solid 5 years. Exactly. And she would be like, stop it. And I'd be like, Mrs. Metcalf. And then she would introduce me every year as Mr. Rossi. And I was like, my dad's here? What? Like literally it felt so weird. And eventually I was like, okay, I can be Mr. Rossi now. Yeah. But yeah, it is strange though.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique situation with our students. And they get access to both us as zoo professionals and to the species that we house here at the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is really cool. So, obviously, we know that you are passionate about red pandas. Yeah. And so we have to talk about the red pandas here because y'all have a cub. Yeah. So I want to know all the things because I've known Zhu for a while now. But there's a new young lady here and she popped out a baby pretty quick, which is really rare for this kind of thing. So can you talk us through all that?
Yeah. So we received Lucy in the fall of last year, maybe mid-fall around this time of year. We paired up with Zhu. Zhu's been our male for quite a few years. I think he got here in maybe 2016.
Okay.
So he's been here with us for a little while. He's like a really solid kind of chiller, now older red panda.
He feels very zen to me.
He does. Yeah. And he is. And all of the males that I've worked with here at the zoo have been in that same vein, like of personality wise. Like they're just kind of like the chiller panda. We had Cyril here. He lived until he was 18 here. Mm-hmm. He was very much the same. He holds a special spot in my heart. He's my background on my computer.
I have been told by many people
about Cyril.
It's really sad that I found you guys. I think it might have been the announcement that he passed is how I discovered the zoo, honestly, or something like that. It was like either that or I discovered y'all and like he passed. Yeah. Like it was, time is an illusion, but it was right around. Yeah. And Dan and everyone here was like, oh my God, you should have met Cyril. And yeah.
He was very much like that. And then Zhu is quickly becoming that kind of older male red panda, very zen. He's easy to work with in that respect too. And then, Lucy came. We didn't see any mating. We were weighing her regularly. Not a huge weight gain this year. And then all of a sudden we had a little cub.
All right. We'll be back after this quick break.
Please join me for the Nature Disturbed podcast, a podcast about the good, the offensive, and the confusing parts of the animal kingdom, from the sewers of Florida searching for alligators. Oh no, did I forget to put the bins out? To the surface of Mars, investigating the possibility of life beyond Earth. Sorry, I had some bubbles lodged in my throat. I said, to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, all while interviewing scientists about their research along the way. Do you like comedy, whimsical storytelling, and learning about the natural world? If not, then you'll hate the Nature Disturbed podcast.
I have a question about that. So Lucy came from Philly.
Yeah.
And huge shout out to Abby and the keeper team there who just adore her.
Yes.
I'm working in Philly right now, and I have spent a lot of time at the zoo, and I've heard a whole lot about Lucy and a whole lot of excitement about the cub, Ember. And But I'm kind of curious. So with you getting older, was this a breeding rec? Was it expected that he would be able to do that? And I mean, I know they wouldn't have been paired together like if it was a problem, but did y'all think he maybe had one more in him, or even a few more in him? Or?
Yeah, so they were an active breeding rec made by the SSP. And when we brought her in, we were hopeful that she would breed this late in life. And, it was successful between the two of them. So they did a really great job. And they did a really great job raising this cub together, right? So we like to monitor them by camera. And we keep an eye on what's going out there. But she really took to the role, and he, kept his distance and was really respectful of that. And we had a really successful year and a really pretty peaceful year out there with the two of them raising this cub, Ember. She's a little feisty if you've gotten to meet her yet.
Yes. Yeah. I actually, I didn't get Histat.
Yeah.
And everyone was very surprised by that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
She was very chill with me.
Coming along here.
I just like to think she could read my vibe.
There you go.
It probably wasn't that. But she was also very sleepy, and that might have helped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that might have helped.
Full and sleepy
Full
pandas
and sleepy.
are the way that we like them.
Yeah, and Mom was right there. So, it was very cool to meet her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's spicy. Talk to me about her a little bit.
So Ember has been super cute. We haven't done too much invasive stuff with her. She's had her vaccines now. She's had a couple of weights with our vet. She's had some vet checkups. She looks great. And then we have mostly been letting Lucy take her cues here, and she's been letting us work with her and see her and monitor her. But we're mostly letting her be a little panda cub with her two parents right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, they are good pandas. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. So, all right. So now that we got a little bit of animal stuff out of the way, so let's talk about the student dynamic, because I've interviewed so many of the students over the years, and it's always fun, and they're all different, and they're all wonderful in their own ways. But what's that like for you?
So the Trevor Lovejoy Zoo is the only zoo that I've ever worked at.
That's interesting.
So it's always been part of my zookeeping experience is that there's been a student component with me. So there's never been there's been days where they haven't been here, but there's never been a day where they haven't been part of this experience with me. So bringing them along on my travels around the zoo, or bringing them along to shadow me on vet procedures with our vet, and bringing them along to do animal transfers or to go to other zoos. That's always been a component of this job, and then always my zookeeping experience. So they'll come find me when I'm sitting at my desk working on transfers, and they want to know what's going on. So you have to leave that space to explain yourself to them, and to let them learn, and to let them be a part of this experience with you. Because if they're not learning that, then we're not giving them what they need to with their experience going through high school here.
Right. No, that makes sense. I have this mental image of you getting a job at another zoo and seeing like a high school field trip walking by and being like, hey, get in here. You're supposed to be cleaning this habitat. What are you doing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what was your journey like? I mean, how did you, this is your one zoo. Tell me all the things.
So I went to college at Cornell. I was on a training trip in Florida at the time, and I had applied for this job. I got an interview. I was coming back. My home is not very far from here. And one of the men's coaches actually was like, where are you going for your interview? And I said, I'm going to Millbrook School to the Trevor Zoo. And he was a little interested. He was actually an animal science major too. And when I got here to my interview, I interviewed with John O'Meggs, who was the director at the time, and Alan Toussaint, who's our director now. And they said, do you recognize this guy? And they pulled out a photo, and it was the men's head coach, and he had gone to Millbrook School. I was surprised, and I went through the whole interview process. I met with, so you don't just meet with the zoo staff when you're on an interview here. You also meet with the dean of students and the dean of faculty to see where you fit into the big picture of a boarding school lifestyle. And I loved the idea of taking a little time off of school. My intention was to apply to vet school. I thought I'd take a year to be here, enjoy, living on campus and being close to my family. And then I really fell in love with the place. John O'Megs was retiring at the time, and Jess and Alan offered me a more stable full-time job. It was called an internship at the time, but it was really our husbandry keeper position now. It used to turn over a lot when you had interns going through it, but then they offered me the animal care coordinator position, and I just stayed. And then I also stayed in the apartment. I lived at the apartment at the zoo for 7 years.
Wow.
I said that I had squatters' rights up there. But I really liked that every day was different. And I liked being a part of this team. And I liked the students and how they kept me on my toes and that it never was the same. And I also liked that I didn't have to specialize into just being birds or primates or carnivores. I could do it all. And I liked that about this place. It kept me interested and it kept me going.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, the student aspect of it is not only just fascinating for me. I mean, anytime I do anything about this, I talk about the fact that wow, high school kids, zookeeping is pretty cool. But the other side of it is the teacher parental almost vibe. You're living here with them. And one of the things that I got to be a part of today was this sit down luncheon thing.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating. Go ahead and explain what that is.
Yeah, so that's advisory lunch. I have 3 advisees currently that are working in the zoo, but they are juniors and seniors in high school. And I help them when they need it. So if we're discussing classes and how they're doing and how they're progressing in classes, I'm kind of that first point of contact between them and their families and the school and their families. It's kind of a nice little triangle between the student, the family, and us as advisors. And if they have questions about the campus or anything like that, I can be their first point person, but really just an advisor to them. Yeah.
It was so much more casual than that, though. When I was sitting there, it was, again, I know that in no way would you say I am their mother or anything weird like that. And I know that. But that's what it was like. So we all sit down.
Yeah.
And we're eating some spaghetti and meatballs.
Yep.
Fantastic, by the way. And you're like, so how are your classes?
Yeah.
How's this project? How do you feel about the upcoming test? Mm-hmm. And it was just like when I would sit at home with mom and dad in high school. Mm-hmm. The only difference was I'd be like, fine. Because I was, that's the high school kid that I was. And they were like, oh my gosh, Mr. Depew, blah, 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 blah. And just saying all the things. And I was like, that's a really cool connection. That's really special.
I'm really lucky. The groups that I seem to get placed with for students, they're extremely intelligent and they are mostly always doing kind of what they're supposed to be doing. So I don't have to be the heavy very often with them, which is great.
I do hear that Dr. T is often the one who gets
he can sometimes be the heavy with his group.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get a pretty motivated group that wants to share and they want to be a part of this. And that makes it easy to interact with them, right? Because there's some commonalities between them and there's some shared history there now too, that I have a little bit of an older group. So it is at this point in the year, a pretty comfortable, fun lunch that we get to have with them. Things come up and they're teenagers, but I really like that. And I keep in touch with a lot of my previous advisees still.
That's really cool. Yeah. What is it like when let me phrase this differently. So what kind of training do you need to do to be in that kind of position? Because again, they're teenagers, there are hormones, there are bad decisions, there are all the things that I don't care if you're the best teen in the world, you're gonna have. And you came at it from a biology zookeeper, I'm going to be a vet type of position. So how did you grow that side of things?
So the school's really good about giving us training. When you're a new faculty member, so when I started out, they do training so that you're well prepared to be on dorm duty or coach. I used to coach basketball and I used to supervise a study hall group at night to earn my housing. So that you get to see students in a totally different light. So they're here at the zoo and they're, being professional in classes, but then to see them kind of relax on the weekends and stuff like that, that's part of the boarding school experience. But the school trains us really well. And then there's also a deep bench over on campus that if you are having an issue, you could go to the dean of students or the dean of academics, and it's a conversation with them and your student about where we're going to go with things. So there's a lot of support across campus too.
That's cool. Do you ever have to, or do people in your position ever have to kind of be like, yeah, this might not actually be for you? Or is it always trying to figure out how to make it make sense?
So not every not every student is going to be all about the animals all the time, right? So, but there is a place for everyone here at the zoo. So just like there is everywhere else, if you're into media or if you're into artwork or if you're into building things for us, there's a spot for you here. And then there's also a spot for the student that doesn't want to get into the nitty gritty of this, but just wants to walk around and enjoy the natural world. So I find sometimes that there are students that I haven't seen in the community service program since their freshman year. Seniors will just be out walking the path or reading a book here, and they found a different way to appreciate this place.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I do laugh. So I've gotten to watch a couple now of the different community service things, and some of the kids that come down, and they're dressed like to the nines, and I'm just like, oh, you're gonna go. That skirt and shirt combo is probably worth more than my wardrobe, and you're gonna go shovel poop. But they do the thing.
They do the thing, cool. And that's all that we ask of them, is that whatever wardrobe choices they make throughout the day, that they are ready to go here at the zoo. A lot of them keep wellies down here to work in their spaces, but they surprise me too a lot of the time, that they will just dig right in no matter what's going on. Yeah,
it's really cool. Really cool. So what are some of your favorite animals here?
I really like the Jeffries marmosets that we have. They're really, the whole group has just very different personalities with themselves. I love working with the red wolves too. Just the fact that we have so many for our size.
So cool.
We have 7, so two exhibits that we service each day here. I think that that's a really amazing species that we expose students to, and that I get to also work with. I love the red pandas, obviously, of course. And I really like our Sika deer too. I find them to be just really pretty animals.
They are. They're really, really gorgeous. Yeah, no. You forgot binturongs, but that's okay. I won't judge you.
I know. It's hard for me to pinpoint any of them, which is why I keep doing it. Yeah.
Of course. I'm always amazed too, like, I was hanging out with your female river otter today, and with a greater Galago, and it was the most fun I've had in a long time. And I was like, wait, am I enjoying my time with you guys more than with the Bints earlier today? That's weird. But like, whenever you're with an animal, it's just special. You know? Yeah. I get made fun of by some of my listeners because I'll be like, my favorite, and then 20 things later. Yeah. I'm like, I don't actually know what that word means. That's okay. So what species would you say, or species, single, plural, whatever, are the ones that surprise you most in how, like, kids react to them?
I would say the owls.
Okay.
Right? So our owl aviary has quite a few owls. And I think most kids go through a phase where the things that they can say are hoo, hoo, hoo. And the apartment's over there. So I used to hear kids all the time out there hooting at the owls, loving the owls. My own kids love the owls. They're not a species that gets too personal with you, our birds of prey, but the amount of time that families will spend by those exhibits is really cool. Just finding those animals, talking to those animals, and talking about those animals. I really like that we have such a diverse collection of those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I ask people this from time to time, so I'll ask you. I'm always intrigued by, and people have given both answers and pretty much every point in between. But I'm always intrigued by the question, the idea of, what do you think is more impactful? I mean, everyone's going to be different, but overall, coming to the zoo and seeing binturongs and red pandas and things that you're just never going to see anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Or coming to the zoo and getting to experience a river otter that you might see somewhere, or owls that you might see somewhere, something like that up close, like learning about what's in your backyard.
I think it's a combination of both, right? So at different points in your lives, different things are going to hit you more personally, but it's all eventually going to make you care about wildlife and the ecosystems that are around you and the ones that are far from you. And that's really what you're trying to do here at the zoo. So whether you're speaking to the younger visitors who are looking at the North American animals and wanting to protect them then, or you're talking to a lover of red pandas and they want to take some conservation action there, or just even the little steps at home that people make after seeing our animals to support their own environments around them. But I think you're speaking to, when you have a collection like this, I think you're speaking to different people at different points in their lives. So I don't know that one is more important than the other. But I think if you give people something to care about, they're gonna care about it and they're gonna want to protect it.
Yeah, no, that's the goal of really what we all do, whether it's zoos or with our safe programs or whatever. It's you want to make people care. I always find it so fascinating because, like, I know people who, like you said, are obsessed with like owls and who like will spend a half hour at a raccoon habitat looking at a raccoon, which I've seen millions of raccoons in the wild, it feels like, and then like just around places I've played or where I live or whatever, and then we'll walk past a red panda habitat or I'll be like, oh my gosh, did you see the red ruffed lemurs? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And to me, it's like, I love seeing it all and I love learning about all the animals, but there is something really special about like seeing a thing and being like I remember, I've had this thing in my head for a while. You know how like so many movies and TV shows that are set in New York City start with like a drone type zoom in on the city and then they take it into the place and you can see Central Park. And you can see, if you know the city like I do, you can know, where the Bronx is and that kind of stuff. And but especially with Central Park, as it zooms in, I'm always like, there are two red pandas there. Like, here is this urban metropolis with all these buildings, and you're seeing all the lights and the cars flashing by in fast speed or whatever. And I'm like, there are two, like, that's the most magical thing to me, like ever. Ever. And yet other people don't care at all, but then are like, oh my goodness, I saw an owl last night in a tree in my house and now I'm looking at another one. And it's just really cool. And I think it's important to figure out how to connect people to, just in general, what they care about.
Yeah. And I think offering like a diverse collection that connects with you on one way or another. Everyone's bound to have a favorite, right?
Or multiple favorites.
If
you don't know what that word means.
Yeah.
So, what is it like? Like, what? I'm so curious because obviously I talk to keepers and curators and stuff all the time, but they don't then have dorm duty. So I kind of want to hear about like a little bit more about like what that's like.
Yeah. So, you work your full day as a keeper, and then you would, at that point in my life, we would go up to campus and coach a JV basketball practice and take those kids to a game, and then bring them back to campus, bring them up to the dorms, and then supervising study hall was my wheelhouse. So I used to supervise a study hall that they put all the third form students, which are our freshmen here, into a room, and we would have internet for the first hour, and they would work on their homework, and you'd make sure everyone was kind of on task for the night. And then the internet would shut off in the second hour. When I was doing it. And then you would have to make sure that they were, lining themselves up so that they could still work on homework during that full second hour. And it's late at night. It's a boarding school it's a boarding school schedule. So the daily activities are from 8 to 3. So that's where our community service period, the formal lunch, the classes are happening. And then you're still going from 3 to 5 with those students because everyone needs to participate in a sport. So you're either coaching a sport up on campus, or we have a sports alternative that you're going to see a little bit later. It's called Zoo Squad. And there they come and help us restock. They'll help us prepare for the next day. They'll help us close out today. But that's from 3 to 5. And then they get like a little bit of a dinner break. And then you go on to dorm duty if you're serving in a dorm, or supervised study hall. I think they have changed supervised study hall to more of an open study hall format now. But I used to do library duty too. I would work in the library at night.
Nice.
But it can go pretty late. So study hall is from 8 to 10. So you would be on from 8 to 10. And when you would work in the dorms, you would check students in. They would go to their study hall areas in their rooms if they were allowed to stay in the dorms. Otherwise, they would go to the supervised study hall areas. And then you would check them back in at 11 or 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. Make sure you have everyone, put the dorm to bed for the night, and then leave.
That's so outside the scope of zookeeping.
Yeah.
It's really cool though. I like that. And I like how involved you get to be in these kids' lives.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there aren't a whole lot of people who can say that they're zookeepers, and then their fellow zookeepers call them Miss or Mister, and then also they see them in their pajamas, a couple times a week or whatever. It's really a different way of
or they see you with your family at dinner, and
right.
they see you going about your life too.
Yeah, that's really cool, but it's heady to think about, I think, this is definitely not a place that is for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I say that in a very I love it here way. Yeah. I think it's really cool here, but it takes a lot. You must really be committed to the kids. Yeah. And since that wasn't your initial path, was that a learning curve for you? Or was it the thing where you showed up and you were because I know you said you were only going to be here for a year, or were you instantly just oh my gosh, I'm good at this and I love these kids and these kids are awesome?
I don't know that teenagers ever let you feel like you're good at working with teenagers. I think that's part of the appeal of teenagers, right?
That's fair.
So it changes, and it changes based on the group dynamic too. So that is also intriguing in a different way to figure things out. And you get to every year that you teach them something new, but then you also get to start back from the beginning when you get a new group of freshmen too. So I don't know that I'm particularly good at it, but we all work really hard at trying to meet the needs of the students and also meet the needs of the collection. I
mean, I'm going to say bullcrap on that. I'm going to call you out on that. I'm sure that you might feel that way. And I'm sure if you work with high school kids, you definitely feel that way. But I have talked to so many of the students here over the last couple of years, and they're obsessed with y'all. They really love you and Dan and Dr. T and just everyone here and Jess and it's such they love you guys, and I know that you're impacting their lives, and I know because I've asked them what their time at the zoo is, how it impacts them, and everyone has their own story to tell and how it changed them. I mean, y'all are clearly good at it. And I do think the kids that come here and the kids that get involved here are a special breed. I've said this before on the pod, but I'll say it again. I don't like kids very much. Now, high school kids a little bit more, but I've always said Miles, my son, and one other kid are the two kids that I really like. Yeah. And one of his friends is named Nancy, and I love her to death. And even her brother Roger, who I also like a lot, I don't really love. I love two kids in this whole world. One of them is mine, and one of them I'm lucky enough is his friend. I love all of the people I've met here. Now, they are older. It's not the same as an 11-year-old. Yeah. I often feel very comfortable with them, and oftentimes become social media friends with them and have stayed in touch with some of them. And I think they're amazing. But I can't even tell you how sad I was that I had to leave AZA early this year. We talked about that. And then Jamie came to Zoo Day. I wanted to see Jamie again. I loved meeting Jamie last year.
Yeah.
What a rock star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just one of the coolest humans I've ever met. And I'm not a huge, so I do think it does help.
Yeah, we got really lucky
really cool kids.
that she's at Eckerd right now.
Okay.
And so it was easy for her to come to Zoo Day and meet up with us and fill us in on some of the things that she's been doing, which is awesome.
Yeah. Very cool human, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I feel that way with like all of the kids that I've spent time with. And even like, it's so funny because kids, of that age, I keep saying kids, but I don't really think of like high schoolers as like kids. But high schoolers they're very careful and guarded, especially when you shove a mic on them, because like, A, in this industry, you have to be smart. B, they're well trained. C, it's probably their first time doing something like this outside of maybe something here specific for the school. Although again, they're very well spoken. But then also like, it's a kind of unique situation. And then some of them have been listening to the pod for a while and stuff and whatever. But then you see them with the animals. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God, the passion is just spilling out, I interviewed Max earlier and I've talked to him at the conference and now here. And then we went over to the otter habitat and I saw the most unguarded, happy, cool. And it was just awesome. Like I already really respected him and his thoughts on things, but then him over there is magical, and it's cool to get to see that. Yeah.
So, the animals make it easy for us to connect with the students, right? Because it gives them a way to be unguarded in that way. And then also it lets the pressure off of the day to day of, are you doing your homework? Are you getting places on time? Are you doing this? It lets you just kind of interact with them on their own terms and with their own favorite animal, in a different way. And I think when you give them a hands-on task too, you're working alongside them, and that also kind of allows them to be students, but also be really responsible in a meaningful way here. I really like that sometimes if you're having a tough conversation about why something that they need to be accountable for, having them come and just shoveling something with you, it gets you to a different place with them. And I think Dr. T and Jess are really good about doing that. And our whole staff is, right? Because we might not be the one who's grading your essay, but we might be the one who has to ask you why you didn't get that essay in on time, right? And giving them a space where they can work and think about something else while they're thinking about the thing that they need to do. It makes them appreciate the natural world, but also it gives them a way to interact with us that makes it easy and that gives us an avenue to talk to them about things that they might need to do differently on campus.
Yeah, makes sense. I have a half-baked idea that I came up with when I was talking to Dan today. Yeah. And I'm going to toss it at you and see if it sticks, and I'll cut it if not.
Okay.
But, or see if you have any thoughts about this. But I would argue that this zoo, especially being an accredited zoo, this is the half-baked part. I'm still thinking how to phrase this. Should serve as a guide to other facilities when it comes to things like volunteers and docents and stuff like that, because so many facilities want those types of people, but do not let them anywhere near an animal. I've been very fortunate. Aquarium of Niagara respects what I do and has actually let me do some cool stuff. But I know so many people who have volunteered for years and years and years at facilities and are not allowed to do any of the things that the students are done here. And I feel like if high school kids can be trusted with some of those tasks, then maybe we should be allowing some of the people who maybe have to earn it, just like I'm sure the high school kids do. I know that you're not letting somebody who comes to the zoo for the first time in with the lynx, where they're just not doing that. But I feel like this is proof of concept that you can trust people with more. And I'm curious if you have thoughts on that.
So I think it's a give and take, right? So we carefully choose our collection based on what we feel like we can supervise our students with. And it varies from day to day as to what access we're giving and where we are with them. It takes a really good team communication between us as a staff to make sure that we're clear and consistent on what's happening from a day-to-day standpoint so that we can be super clear and consistent with our teenagers. As they do get a lot of responsibility, but they do earn it. They are trained, they work with us, they work alongside us, and they definitely, I know that it can be scary to other people, but they do rise to the occasion and they rise to the things that we're asking of them. Like they help provide enrichment. They help with our husbandry tests. As they advance, they help with our training. And they help with our conservation. They go on surveys with us. But I think that if you give them more, especially our student body, they're such a captive audience for us because they're here all the time. Right. I think if you give them more, they do rise to the occasion and people will surprise you in the best ways. And I think that is something that I can appreciate working with these students, is that when they feel some sort of ownership over a task that they're doing and they feel pride in how they did, and you give them that positive feedback of, I think you did a really great job today, they want to do more like that and they want to keep doing that. And if they fall short, they really do take it personally and they say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go in and I'm going to do better with that. So I don't know. I think that especially the teenagers, they're the future, and it's heavily monitored, but I think that they always do surprise us on what they are capable of too.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people could. And I think if you went through that program, I think, I've talked to so many volunteers at so many places, like not for the pod, but just like as I'm wandering around, or like, sometimes they recognize me or something. And it's like the number one complaint. Like, I'm here and they just don't trust me. They just won't let me. And it's not like they're asking to be left alone with a red panda for an hour or whatever, but just like exactly some of the stuff I see the students doing here. And I don't know, it's an interesting thought, but I'm just like, I feel like there are a lot of facilities where people feel very overworked and overwhelmed. And at those same facilities are a bunch of really talented people who maybe don't have a biology degree, but who also could be trusted with more. And that's just something I've seen.
Yeah, and I think it's based on every place's risk management assessment, right? So you have to decide what you're comfortable with and what you're willing to do and what matters to you. Like our education component and this whole program is what matters to us, and having them along for all the things is part of it. And I think that if you have a culture like that, then it's easier to sell to your keepers or your upper management as to what you would like to do.
Makes sense.
People.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of that, it's a zoo. Bad things happen at zoos, like just life, right?
Yeah.
Like y'all lost Betsy last year, and that was tough. And, you were very transparent about it and stuff. But like, how do you approach that with high school kids?
I think clear is kind. So if we have something that has happened, and if even when we're unsure of the cause of why something happened, to bring them along with us and to say, this is what happened. We're all processing it. We're all, doing the best we can here. We have to move on and take care of the rest of the collection with the students, and then working through it, but then also keeping them informed on what the outcomes are. If we find out something, then we have to share that with them. And that is tough on an individual basis for the students to learn, but I think it is part of the experience here, right? So some of them to be a part of our necropsy. They've seen that animal through the good, the bad, and the end, and therefore we're clear with that. If we have a quality of life decision to make, to bring them along and to show them this is where we were and this is where we are and this is where we're headed, I think is really important. And I think it creates really responsible, human beings that are going to be keepers or owners of their own pets in their own lives and stuff like that. And I think that it's meaningful, and it is hard, but I think that not giving it to them would be doing a disservice to them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Awesome. Real quick, because I know we have to go do fun zoo stuff, but how you feeling about Safe Red Panda and your role in that and what's been going on so far?
I'm enjoying my time on it. I'm learning a lot. I'm excited for the things that we have coming with Safe Red Panda. I feel like we've made a lot of progress in the last 2 years. So we published our 3-year plan. I'm excited that they let me keep on coming to the meetings and being a part of it. I feel like little zoos on a big committee like that is really cool to get our foot in the door there and to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's very weird in a very cool way, and to me to have that be like Nikki asking me to do Safe Red Panda, right? Like getting involved with Safe Tree Kangaroo. Okay, there aren't that many people that do tree kangaroos or know that they exist. Like still an honor, but like red pandas? Wow, really? Okay, cool. And to have people who I know and love and respect that are keepers at zoos that I've known, since before the pod even, that are like, John, what's Safe doing and how can we help? And I'm like, why aren't you on it? And me asking you that, it's really special. I think Nikki put together an incredibly good, incredibly diverse team and really saw something in all of us, which I remind myself of all the time when the imposter syndrome comes creeping in, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not forget that you are bringing something to the table, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just so lucky to be here,
Yeah, so real. Cool. So is there a conservation organization you'd like to give a shout out to?
I was just at the New World Primate Tag, so probably Save the GLT.
Okay, yeah. That's Golden Lion Tamarin for y'all that don't know that. Yeah, great organization. And then it's time for the Rossifari poop story. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
I once was in an exhibit and I had a lemur above me and I was bent down and I suddenly felt something on the back of my neck and I had been pooped on from the skylight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Like a full poop just right on my back.
That's awesome. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
I just love Kyleen so much. What a cool human. It's such a joy and honor to get to work with her and do conservation-y things with her, and also now to have gotten to share her story with y'all. So, I hope you enjoyed that one. We'll be back with some more interviews next year and all the other good stuff that I mentioned at the top before that. So before we get going here, I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone for listening, and especially to my patrons, and especially to my Red Panda level patrons. Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. And let me remind you guys a very, very important message. The word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.